Welcome to the Bridge of Two podcast.
Welcome? Are we,
Is this the Bridge of Two podcast?
Are we on?
Are we here? This is the podcast where we bridge the sci-fi and fantasy realms we love into a nerd cast of epic proportions.
Very epic. I want to just mention that Josh started out with a very long, drawn-out, like he was going to say welcome, but didn't, for like a solid 10 seconds.
I was waiting for inspiration to strike me on how to intro this episode, so.
It was perfect. 10 of 10. Would
Thank
recommend.
You. Thank you. Thank you, sir. All right. Well, we are back. We came back.
Yeah, it's been a weird, pretty much an extra week hiatus, right?
Almost. Yeah, we're recording this one a little later. So the Bridge of Theories episode will be getting up a little later or whatever. We'll still get one to you, though. Don't worry.
It'll come. It's just coming a little late. I probably should have posted something on Instagram. I guess I can do that now.
Do it right now,
Well,
live.
No, in like an hour and a half
right
when we're
now.
done. Refused.
Refused. Denied. Okay. This is how I handle conflict. I just start laughing. Good one.
That's funny.
Yeah, so we've been up to... What have we been up to? What have you been up to?
I've been up to a lot these past 2 weeks, actually. Got a little break from school, so I haven't had to worry about studying or anything.
Nice.
Which is wonderful. Probably a bad idea because I have 3 more semesters and should have kept studying, but I didn't.
Yeah, true.
But so I got a lot done. I finished Rhythm of War, which go ahead and say to the top right now that spoiler warning for later on in the episode where we will be talking about Rhythm of War. If you do not want spoilers, it will be a very heavy spoiler episode.
Episode will be named Spoiler Plate.
There you go. I like it.
This
That
is
better be the episode.
There's going to be a plate full of spoilers for you. So if you stay with us because we won't be talking about Rhythm of War stuff just yet. We'll be talking about that after the break. But when we do break to get our drinks, when we come back, if you don't want spoilers for Rhythm of War, then...
We'll do another heads up when spoilers are beginning. We'll
Yep.
give you time to go read it.
Ears
and then
up.
Come back.
Ears up, everybody.
So I finished Rhythm of War, which we'll get into later. We're just gonna go ahead and say fantastic. So that was nice. I wanted to get that done on my break so that I can just get it done. I was getting like maybe 2 chapters done like a month when I was in school, and it just wasn't working for me. Yeah. So I finished that. I started To Sleep in a Sea of Stars by
Christopher Paolini.
There you go. Yeah, the guy who wrote Aragon. I keep doing that. Aragon. So I'm checking that out. I'm like 100 pages in. It seems interesting. The main character is currently enveloped in
Sea of Stars?
an alien species that has made a suit around her that's almost impenetrable.
Has made a suit around her?
This alien organism, I guess.
Like, for a good reason?
We don't know yet. I'm only 100 pages in, but it has formed around her. At first it was inside of her, then it formed, it like burst out in spikes, killed her entire crew, including her, spoilers, fiance.
It burst out of her in spikes?
Yeah.
And she's alive?
And then it like formed around her body to make like a skin tight suit. Almost like, you ever play Crisis? The Crisis games?
I've played a little bit of one, but I mean those suits, yeah.
It kind of reminds me of those suits, but except it's an actual alien organism that does have kind of thought in a sense. Like she almost can kind of sense certain feelings from it. But it's like impenetrable. It like protects her. She was even like jettisoned into open space, and it was able to like cover her head and allow her to breathe.
Filtered the space so that she could breathe the oxygen.
So there are already weird aliens that were attacking people, and it seems like it could be interesting.
Okay.
It's taking a different turn than I thought, because most
There's no dragons in it.
Well, most sci-fi... Well, I thought it was like a... Well, yes, but I thought it was like a generic, like, kind of more common sci-fi recently has been, like, there's a virus or there's like an alien species that's gonna take over, or not take over, but like an alien organism that's gonna cause everyone to die and get sick and all that. But this one seems like it might take on like a war kind of thing almost, or at least a battle. I don't know. I'm intrigued by it, so we'll see what happens.
Cool.
I'm like 100 pages in.
Awesome.
So I started that. Finished Mass Effect 1.
Nice.
I was sick this over the weekend. I got sick on Thursday, if I remember correctly. And
Who did you save?
all of them.
No, you can't save everyone in the first one.
Oh, I did. Caden. I forgot Caden.
Good choice.
Yeah. I was gonna kill Ashley, but I was trying to think about what my character would do and how I was playing him. Is Caden was the lieutenant and he was the one. He was the higher rank and he was willing to make the sacrifice. And I think my character would have appreciated that. And as the lieutenant, he would have.
Oh, I appreciate that. I'll save you.
He would have been like, no, well, he would have been like, as a lieutenant, it's his decision to make that he is gonna, he was a higher rank than Ashley. So he was making a decision. So my character was like, well, he is the higher rank and he's making that sacrifice. I'm allowed to make that sacrifice.
Oh, so you didn't save him?
No, he died. Actually, I saved Ashley.
Okay. Gotcha. Interesting.
So I think the other time I played the game, I saved Ashley too, but it's been so long I don't remember.
I feel like I've gone both ways with it.
I don't like Ashley at all, though.
No, I don't
She
either.
annoys the snot out of me. She's racist as all get out. But
Speciest.
But that being said, I thought about it in different aspects as far as what my character would do.
Yeah.
Shepard decided to save her. But I saved everybody else. Nobody else died. Rex even lived. Talked him down.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't think I ever had to kill him.
So then I started Mass Effect 2. So I'm gonna periodically play that through the semester.
Best one.
Yes. I just love the gameplay so much.
Oh, here's a funny thing about Mass Effect.
Mm-hmm.
I've told that I have a poster by my desk at work that's a Mass Effect poster, right?
I think you've told me that, yeah.
So yeah, there's a guy who I work with. One day I came in, he had it, and I was like, "Oh, that's so awesome!" And I told him, that's a really cool poster and everything. And then I guess he decided he wanted to get rid of it, and because he has a Breath of the Wild poster he wants to bring in and put up, which he hasn't brought in yet. But so he's like, "Here, do you want this?" I was like, "Sure." So I took it. Now it's by my desk, and my desk is right by where people walk by, and so there's people always walking by, like seeing this Mass Effect poster.
That's awesome.
And he keeps telling me that people keep asking him, like, why did you give Josh the Mass Effect poster? Like other people like wish they had the Mass Effect. And then there's just some random like older guy that works there came over and he was like, "Hey, what's that from?" And I was like, "Oh, it's from a video game called Mass Effect." He's like, "I like it." So hopefully, spreading the Mass Effect.
There you go. It's such a good story.
Yeah.
I forgot. It's been a long time since I played it. I mean, years. I think I was in high school last time I played it.
Really?
I think so. I think I got it on. They had you can get the trilogy on the Xbox 360, and that's when I played it. And I don't even think I don't even know if I've ever beaten the third one.
That's when I bought it the second or third time.
I've beaten the first and second game. I don't know if I've ever beaten the third one. To be honest with you.
Why?
I don't know. I just don't think I ever beat it. At least if I have, I have no clue what happened. Like I'm actually kind of playing this almost like it's been so long I kind of forgot everything's happened. I'm almost playing this like I remember some things, especially as one. I remembered some things. I don't remember anything right now of two, except for the one companion, the Jack companion, the convict that you get from it. Because I remember I played the demo for that.
Okay.
So it just sticks in my head. But it's fun. I'm enjoying it, and like I'll continue to play it through the semester and make my way through it. I like those games a lot. So good, solid sci-fi.
Now you're making me want to play through it again.
They're good games, man. They released it when they released the enhanced edition or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I got it. Now they just need to do that with Dragon Age, and I will be pleased. Dragon Age Origins, at least.
Yeah. They would probably do them all though.
I mean, at least 1 and 2. 3 Inquisition is still relatively new and got really good. They could definitely revamp 1 and 2 and resell it on the newer consoles. They're good games.
Yeah.
At least I didn't play much of 2, but 1 is really good.
Yeah.
Oh, did you hear that? Sort of off topic. Did you hear they're doing a remake of Knights of the Old Republic?
No.
Pretty sure that it's officially announced that someone is doing a remake of Knights of the Old Republic.
What do you mean someone? You mean like a fan thing?
No, like an actual company.
Okay.
It is an official
Star
Wars Lucasfilm game.
Okay.
That someone is. I don't.
Now when you say remake, it's not like a remaster.
I think it might just be a remaster. Okay. I gotta look it up.
Which I mean, that's
fine. Either way, it just means it means being able to play it hopefully better graphics on a newer console.
The second one is the first one. The second one's the graphics aren't that much better, but they are better enough. They're good enough, and the mechanics. As far as like your party mechanics and how your decisions affect your party is more interesting in the second one, I think. But the first one, I think the overall story is better.
Yeah, no.
The character you're playing as. Really
I didn't play the second one, but the first one was really good. And this says right here...
You didn't play the second one?
I have not played the second one yet. I have them both.
Well, maybe if they do a remaster of one, they'll remaster two as well, because it's definitely worth playing.
I can get it. I can even get it on my phone. They have both KOTOR games on the phone.
Right.
And that's where I've been. I actually am replaying KOTOR on my phone and /iPad. I just never got to playing two. I played one, but I never got to playing two. But this says a full-on remake of Knights of the Old Republic, and it's going to be fully canonized in Disney's new Star Wars galaxy.
So that could be sticky.
It's going to be the same game. It's just they're canonizing it now, basically. This is what I'm hearing. They can't change. You know how many people would be so upset if they?
I know that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying it could be sticky, because if they're doing a remake, that means they can, change certain things. And
it's not being made by EA. I know that.
What?
Confirmed on episode.
Made by EA.
Actually, make it the original. So confirmed on the episode something that the project was actually a remake of the original game rather than a new title in the saga.
Well, they remade
Asper. Asper is the company working on the game. Aspyr, ASPYR.
Okay, I don't know anything about them, but
I don't either.
They're like the Skywalker Saga Lego Star Wars is coming out, which is gonna have the first three games, and I'm sure it's gonna be very different than the original.
For the new Skywalker
Lego
Saga?
Star Wars games. Mm-hmm. Even though it's even though it's covering the same movies, it's a remake, and so I don't know. I'm just from that perspective. To me, it seems like they might, play around with it a little bit.
I don't know. I don't think they think they will.
There's no need to. They could enhance it. I mean, they could do so many. They could make it so much better.
I think by remake is they're going to keep the story the same, but just revamp the entirety of the.
That's what they should do.
Maybe change the gameplay.
Make
kind of
like a more modern role playing game, but
it could be similar to like the Final Fantasy VII remake, where it's the same story and everything like that, but they revamped everything. They even changed the combat in Final Fantasy VII remake. Where it's more. So they could do something like that. Technically, I don't know if they will.
Have they changed anything in the story of Final Fantasy VII?
I mean, I'm sure there's minor details, but as far as I know, it's pretty top. Yeah. Right on with the. But then again, it's the same exact company making that game that's made.
Right. That's what I was about to think. I have a little more faith in, Square Enix.
I don't know. We'll see. I just know it's a thing.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah. I try to be positive. I guess when it comes to Disney and Star Wars, I can be a little pessimistic. But
no, I'm with you. I am excited about the Skywalker Saga too, by the way, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
I love the Lego games, so I'm excited. They just released a new trailer.
Yeah, I saw it.
And it looks pretty good.
Looks good, yeah.
So I'm excited for that. But anyway, that's pretty much it for me. I mean, that's other things here and there, but watching a lot of YouTube as always. Otherwise, though, that's it.
Cool. Well,
what have you been up to?
I finished a book.
Yes, you have. We both finished a book.
I finished Brandon Sanderson book. We both finished.
Look at that. Look at that.
The second Mistborn book, The Well of Ascension. Yeah. So I finished it last night.
So, I knew you did when you texted me this morning saying, "Oh my gosh," or something like that, and I was like, "Okay, he finished it."
So it's a little fresh, a little raw.
A lot happens in the end that one.
A lot happens. There's so many twists at the very end. I mean, there is a full-on Sanderlanche.
Oh, just wait! It happens again in the third one. A lot happens in the third. A lot of weird twists happen in the third one, but a lot of twists that bring everything together.
Okay.
He did a magnificent job.
Wrap up the trilogy and everything.
Yeah, he did a fantastic job with that. The Mistborn trilogy.
But I don't know. I want to talk about more. I don't think if I start talking about it now, though,
we're just gonna keep going.
It'll be spoilery and
maybe we'll do a spoiler.
Like a miss
theories.
I mean, I definitely
Bridge of Mistborn
would like to
episode.
theorize with you for the next book.
Okay.
To tell you like what I think might happen.
Maybe take a look. Everyone, look out for the next Bridge of Theories episode. Maybe it'll be about Mistborn Well of Ascension.
You heard it here first.
Bridge of Mistborns.
Bridge of Mistborn theories.
I
mumbled that. Yeah, I had a little stroke there.
Oh no, I haven't learned that yet. Don't do that.
I need my B12.
Is that how that works? Does B12 help with strokes? I don't think potassium does either.
I was just saying that because the energy drink we had last time was had a bunch of B12 in it, right? Like 4,000% your daily value.
Oh, that's right. Oh yeah, we're probably due up for our next.
I like to do
400%.
callbacks. I'm like Brandon Sanderson.
Oh gosh. Brandon Sanderson will be doing callbacks for the next 30 years in this Cosmere.
Yeah, there's going to be... Oh, my gosh. The last...
The guy. What a guy.
Can't talk about it. Can't even talk about him. He's a good man. So, yeah, I read that. That was crazy. Great book. I highly recommend the Mistborn series. If you've been at all interested in The Way of Kings or thought it sounded interesting, but you're like... it sounds too big. The Mistborn books are smaller. And one thing I thought was cool about the Mistborn, the way he does Mistborn, I mean, I'm sure there's a character arc for all three books. I mean, obviously there's a character arc for all three books, covering all three books for the characters. But there's a
definitive ending to each book.
There's a definitive character moment in each book, and whereas sometimes Brandon Sanderson for the Stormlight Archive will some characters will kind of get their character arc teed up, and then it'll fulfill in the next book.
I will say though,
Kaladin, for example,
he does do a good job though of kind of each, despite it being like a trilogy or a 10-book series, each book in that series has its own kind of set storyline.
Yeah,
that's under the overarching storyline,
right.
And each kind of book does hit its storyline. So like the first Mistborn book has a storyline, and that storyline's hit, and then it opens up for the second book. Now the second book kind of ends in a way where it has a definitive ending, but like it's 100% guaranteed there's more to it, and,
right.
And so you have to read the third book, and that's kind of how it is with the Stormlight stuff. But they all have like whatever storyline they were kind of each book was following. You have a definitive ending pretty much to it. It might open up, that definitive ending might open up a lot more. But that book has an ending, which I really like because it's just a great way, because a lot of books, especially when you're reading them as they're coming out, it's kind of hard because some people, when they're doing like trilogies or series, they'll leave major cliffhangers at the end of books, and it gets really annoying. And I mean, not like just cliffhangers of like, oh, this could happen, but like something that's integral to the story is still left unanswered, and you have to go back to the next book. That's kind of annoying. We're like, Brandon, I don't really get that with Brandon. Now, mind you, a lot of things are opened up, and you know there's gonna be more, and there's obviously more story there. But that book had, like Rhythm of War, its storyline for Rhythm of War had a definitive ending.
Spoiler: there's a definitive ending
that just opened up for more to happen.
Yeah.
So I'm left wanting to read more books, but I'm not left unsatisfied.
Right, with most of the questions. I think you have to leave some questions unanswered because whenever you have an overarching storyline. But you're right. Rhythm of War,
And I've just noticed that in pretty much all the books that I've read of his is where there's, for the most part, the only one that has kind of is slightly different is, in my opinion, Well of Ascension, where he kind of does leave it not at I don't want to call it a cliffhanger, but like,
well, it's kind of
something crazy happens.
I feel like that happens in middle
books, yeah.
Middle books, middle movies, like Empire Strikes Back. I don't know what
you're talking about, man. Empire Strikes Back had a definitive ending. Spoilers. Luke got his hand cut off. They decided they're gonna do this. Han Solo gets trapped, and they decided they're gonna go rescue him. That is a definitive ending.
That's every single like plot point is like not answered. though.
What are you talking about? We find out that Darth Vader is Luke's father.
Yeah, no, there's stuff that happens.
Han gets captured by Boba.
The stuff that
and
happens,
gets frozen
but-
permanent and taken to him. They set up a whole new story arc in the third movie that we spend the next 30 minutes in the third or the sixth movie dealing with.
I can't tell if you're joking.
I can't either. I can't either at this point, to be honest with you.
It's too deep. We're in too
I'm
deep.
trying to think. It's hard for me to think objectively about those movies because I've watched them so much where, to me, I don't even see them all as separate movies at this point. So there is a definitive ending to those movies.
Well, because it's one movie. It's one story. Yeah. Well, you heard it here on the Bridge of Two podcast. So
watch Star Wars.
Watch Star Wars. Make your own decisions.
Does Empire Strikes Back have a cliffhanger or a definitive ending, or both?
Is Empire Strikes Back the middle movie in a trilogy, or is it the middle chapter of one movie?
Or is it the middle movie in an entire saga of 9 movies?
Is it actually setting up?
Because if you think about
Ray
it,
Palpatine.
Well, if you think about it,
I mean Skywalker. Oops.
Spoilers.
Made a lot of people mad.
Episode 5 is both the middle of the original trilogy, but it's also the middle of the entire saga. You have 1, 2, 3, 4.
You know what they say about middle children?
6, 7, 8, 9. They're the best. I'm a middle child. Watch your mouth.
Sorry, my wife's a middle child. They're awesome. Yeah, so that's the big one. I finished, without getting too deep, I finished Loki, the Loki show.
Was it good?
It was good. I like it. I liked it a lot. I felt a little mixed on the finale. The finale to me felt like they had to make some kind of change. Maybe because of film. Maybe they weren't able to film as many episodes as they'd planned because of COVID. Like something felt weird about how they ended it. There was kind of a monologue. Yeah, it's not spoilers to say. There's kind of a certain character kind of gives a monologue that gives a whole bunch of explanation for. There's a whole bunch of really interesting mystery stuff throughout the show set up, like who created this organization, who's controlling this, who's pulling the strings, all this stuff, and it gets more and more crazy and interesting the further you go into the show. So like it gets more and more. It gets better and better, and then you get to this explanation. The last episode gives you an explanation for everything, and it just didn't feel like a satisfying way of all that being fulfilled, those questions being answered, because it was just kind of like a conversation, and it was really long. So I don't know, it felt weird how they did that. Then they finished off that episode, and it ended in a more interesting way. Mm-hmm. So overall, I liked it, but I just was kind of not sure why that last episode felt that way. That's my thoughts on that. I think it's worth watching though, and I think you might. I know you're not a big Marvel person, but you might enjoy it because of the way they're doing stuff with time travel and timelines and
maybe I'll check it out.
Little side. And
I will say, some of the new Marvel movies that are coming out look pretty interesting too. They look like they're going a little bit different with it, so I'm intrigued.
Well, yeah, they're doing. There's a lot of it's gonna be multiverse stuff,
which is dope.
Yeah,
Spider-Man: Far From Home actually looks pretty good too.
Did you see it? The trailer?
Yeah, with Doc Ock coming out.
Freaking Doc Ock, and the Green Goblin little bomb. Mm-hmm. That makes me want to watch those movies again. The original. Spider-Man
I know, they made
movies.
Same.
They're so cheesy,
but they're so good.
But that's the tone. They're tonally cheesy. They're meant to be.
Yeah, for sure.
And the action in those movies are so good.
Man, you know what's a good game? The PS4 Spider-Man game.
I know. A lot of people. I've heard that was really good.
I played it.
I needed.
Oh man, when I first started working at the hospital, before I started working with evac, when I was staying at the Grace's house, they had it on the streaming service on the PS4, so I got it and I blasted through it. It was a fun game.
Yeah.
I mean, that felt like playing Spider-Man. That was a good game.
Yeah,
I haven't played the new one, but
I saw a lot of stuff from it, and I heard it was really good, and it's definitely one I want to play someday. I just don't know when I'll have a PS4.
Maybe one day I'll let you borrow my PS4 for a little bit, like during school when I'm busy. I'll let you borrow it for like a couple weeks, and you can try and play through it. I have that streaming service, so.
Oh, PlayStation Now or whatever.
Yeah.
Sweet. I'm gonna play Spider-Man.
There you go. It's a good game, I'm telling you. I kind of want to play the second one.
We'll do a Spider-Man episode.
Yeah. It makes you know what. Marvel actually just released a new game on the phone, literally yesterday, and it is an MMO, but it's like a Marvel MMO kind of. But you get to play as like Spider-Man or Captain America. It kind of reminds me of the old, to an extent, the old Ultimate Alliance games. Is that what they are?
Yeah. Like a overhead third person.
And it's more of like, instead of like a button mashing, you press a button and it'll attack and you do your skills. It's fun. But I was playing that last night before going to bed, and it made me want to go back and read some of the old Marvel comics.
Okay.
I did like, believe it or not, as much as not liking Marvel much anymore, I more don't like the Marvel Cinematic Universe as much. I enjoy a lot of the comics. The Secret Invasion storyline is really cool. My dad's favorite superhero, at least used to be Spider-Man. I don't know if it still is, but it used to be Spider-Man. I mean, we have at least one, maybe two 2-inch binders full of old Spider-Man comics in the closet. I mean, of like, I think 7 2-inch binders full of just comics. Some of them are really old, some of them are newer. Just sitting up in the closet at my parents' house.
Wow.
Some Star Wars, Marvel, DC. I mean, because my dad used to be a big comic book fan as a kid, and so he has a lot from his childhood.
That's cool. Yeah, my dad was too, but I think his mom sold all his comics at like a yard sale.
I'm surprised. Actually, if I don't grab them, my mom will probably try and sell them soon.
Like, he went to college, and when he came back, his mom had sold all his
that's so disappointing.
But yeah. Finished Bad Batch too. Not much to say, because
I know I want to. No spoilers for me.
Well, I mean, we would need to. It would need to have its own episode anyway.
Yeah, I heard a lot. I heard they're trying to. I've seen some spoilers, and it looks like they're really trying to branch out into some interesting things from Legends.
It sounds like it. Yeah, from what I can tell, what I've heard people say, I haven't read a whole bunch of the Legends, but it sounds like they are dipping into some really interesting possible storylines, and it could be signaling, where some of the other shows could go. Maybe they might cover some of the same stuff. Could be really cool. So it was definitely a good show. I definitely. I mean, very strong for a first season of a show. Oh,
we're gonna finish it. I like the episodes. We just haven't. My wife and I are watching Downton Abbey, so my non-nerdy thing to watch. And my wife wants to finish it before we start anything else. So once we finish that,
imagine that one of the people in there is Hoyd.
I already know. I can already tell you which character it would be.
Who?
Have you ever watched it?
I've watched the first 3 seasons.
Branson, Tom Branson.
Is Branson the one?
He marries Sybil. He's the chauffeur that marries Sybil.
Oh yeah.
He's Hoyd. I'd see him as Hoyd for sure. Because he's so different than everybody else in the story.
Yeah, he's too involved though. He needs to be like this character that's just always in the background.
Okay,
he needs to be like the butler or something.
Everyone in that show is involved. He just seems the most. Because Hoyd's more involved now in Stormlight.
You're right. That's true.
But here's the thing: Tom leaves in the 5th season, and then he comes back in the 6th season. So he traveled somewhere else. He did some world hopping to America, and then back to. So he's the Hoyd. I'm telling you.
Okay.
He's getting into people's lives. He's causing people to change their minds on things.
Oh, is he? Yeah, is he like telling them stories that make them have breakthroughs in their character progression?
Kind of.
Okay.
Well, you gotta think he was the chauffeur that ran away with the one of the daughters of the rich people.
Yeah.
Got her to completely change her life for him. Then they came back, lived with them. Then he ended up joining their society, but he taught them of his other society and his viewpoints on things. Just saying, if one character fits the Hoyd personality, it's him. Except he's not in the background all the time, but he used to be. Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, that's enough of that. That was a weird little.
Anyway, well, should we break?
Yeah.
Let's break,
Let's do it.
And then we'll be back.
All right. Do it. Are we live?
We're live.
Oh, hello.
As live as this gets. What just opened, you ask?
Death in a can.
We thought we'd go, super
Generic.
local and very low.
Extremely local. Like.
Yeah, very small business. And we got Coca-Cola with coffee. I saw these when I was in Publix, and the thing about buying canned coffee, like buying like a coffee drink, a lot of times they already have like cream and stuff in it, so already has dairy in it. I'm trying to avoid dairy. So the idea of a soda that
instead of creamer that
had
just
like a
soda.
coffee flavor that tasted good, and I was also like looking for something that would be, give me some energy for when I'm writing. And I tried one, and it was really good. So I thought, I got a flavor I haven't tried, and I got you a zero sugar one.
It's coffee from Brazilian coffee beans.
Oh yeah, it is.
Yes, I got the zero sugar vanilla with coffee.
I'll be interested to hear what you think, because I think it'll be, obviously zero sugar, it's going to be slightly different, but...
It smells good. Great Coca-Cola taste blended with rich, luxurious coffee.
Yeah, so you picked up, though, the vanilla, and mine's caramel. So it's Coca-Cola with coffee, and it's supposed to have some caramel flavor. Good way.
It's weird. It is weird in a good way. It doesn't have...
What do you think of the balance,
it's
between the flavors?
It's good. Like, it's interesting. I'm not a big Coke fan anymore.
I'm not either. Like, I don't drink Coke that much. I don't drink soda that much. But I like Coke, and I like coffee. And I think it's better than it's better than just Coke, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's not bad. I do like the aftertaste is very smooth and coffee and like vanilla-y.
That's what's really interesting. Like it on the front, it really tastes like soda. It really tastes like a Coke, and then after the aftertaste is very coffee, and it's like
it's good. Like it. I'm about it. I wouldn't like drink it regularly, but I mean I would definitely, like, if it was like there, or if I could get it, like if I was at a gas station like I need coffee, I mean I can pick it up. Although we know that if I'm going to get something from a gas station, it's going to be my Stormlight.
That's true. Your
Monster.
What's your Monster? Okay, I was going to say Rockstar. Sorry.
The zero sugar monsters.
Yes.
I don't like the regular monsters. They taste.
The zero sugar Stormlight.
Yeah. You know, I'm on a Stormlight diet.
So yeah, buy Coke with coffee. It's yum.
We don't support Coca-Cola.
I mean, I gave them money, so I kind of do.
I guess we do support them.
I voted
go
with my
go
money.
ahead and buy Coca-Cola coffee. Why not? Buy local.
Buy at your local Publix. Support your local Publix by buying Coke with coffee. All right. So, Rhythm of War.
This is your warning now.
This is your final warning.
Spoilers. If you have not read it and you care about spoilers, you might want to turn this off for the rest of the episode.
If you don't care about spoilers, buckle up. It's going to be a fun ride.
Buckle up, Buttercup. Because it was a crazy emotional roller coaster of a ride for me.
Starting right out, did you cry at any point? Or are you a heartless monster?
I'm prefacing this with I am a man. I'm a man. I do not cry. No. I almost did. I don't cry.
My word.
I don't usually cry during things. I can get teary-eyed. A good example is every time I watch the ending of Episode 3 of Star Wars, I get teary-eyed. But I don't think I've ever really cried during a movie or a book.
You just haven't cried enough.
That being said, I got very teary-eyed at a couple different spots in the book.
We can talk about those later.
Oh,
maybe.
I was reading it with Steph last night, and even then I was still getting
got choked up.
Almost got choked up reading it.
Reading Kaladin or
Kaladin.
Yeah. So
I do like the dog and the dragon story too. The ending, just because, what Wit says, it hits close to home. I'm sure for a lot of people. So,
you know what? I think you're right. I've definitely seen that all over the place, and some cool stuff, and I want to look it up real quick and read it, just the end of it.
I can grab it out of the book. I know what chapter it's on.
If you'd rather read it straight out of the book,
Talk
that's
amongst
fine.
yourselves, Josh.
So
You're different Shalon
How did you know? One of my personalities is Shalon.
I could just tell by the way you walk.
Oh, thank you.
All right, hold up. Let me find it. Chapter 80. That is not chapter 80. That might be a little bit too far.
The dog and the dragon. So, yeah, so I'll preface it by saying in every Stormlight book, pretty much Hoid tells a story. And most of the time, it's at a point where a character's kind of confused or like just not sure what to do. They need a little more clarity. And Hoid will come along and he'll tell a story that seems to be completely just out of left field, not related at all. And then as the story continues, you'll realize it's super relevant. I feel like in these later books, his stories have been more relevant and far more specific to the character.
Well, it seems like he's been coming in specifically to the characters, telling them a story to help the character. Right. This one is the one that seems minus the Shalon situation with Wit, and I think the second or third book. I think it was the third one. This one is very explicitly he's here to help Kaladin.
Yeah.
I mean, full on, there's no way around that.
I still don't understand how. Like, he's basically like Kaladin's dreaming. Mm-hmm. And so Kaladin has been having these nightmares, partially because, well, he's just seen a lot, he's depressed, but Odium and Moash, or specifically Odium, is somehow sending like nightmares to him. They're making it so that whenever he sleeps, he can't get any rest, and just to try to drive him even further to the brink.
You know, I wonder, because
so somehow, but in the middle of that, somehow Hoid shows up in one of those nightmares and gives Kaladin kind of a brief rest or whatever. So,
just thinking on this, because it's pretty heavily inferred. I don't know if it's said explicitly, but it's inferred that he's on the nightmares on Braze or Bryze or whatever. Is that what it?
Is that what was happening?
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure. It's still stated as a nightmare, but what if like it's almost like a nightmare where like, because we know different cognitive shadows, stuff like that. What if it's almost like I'm gonna use a more earthly term, but like almost a form of astral projection. That is being forced upon Kaladin and onto Braze, and that's how. Because you notice it's not just Wit that's there; his Spren is there too, right? And it's weird for both. I mean, Wit does weird, crazy things, but for his Spren to also be in Kaladin's nightmare, is weird. What if it's almost like a thing of like?
Well, and his Spren is full. Is like a.
It's full.
Yeah, it's like how they appear in the cognitive realm.
Yeah, so I wonder if maybe it is some form of like. Almost like maybe like some weird form of like a cognitive shadow that's being that Kaladin's being forced into or out of his own body, almost like astral projection onto Braze or onto maybe the cognitive realm of Braze.
Right.
And then Wit has somehow showed up there as well with his Spren.
Maybe.
I don't know. That's just something else.
Yeah. But
because I didn't really think about that now or either until just now.
But yeah, so the end of the read the. So Kaladin's dealing with depression throughout all the books, but it's really he's forced to face it in this book really heavily. Yeah. And
so he's dealing with it now, and he's once again, like Josh prefaced, he's kind of in this moment he's almost forced into like this nightmare. He was brought out. He ran out into the storm. He's pretty much beaten down. He's lost Syl for a time being, and he is just getting absolutely battered. And so Wit almost like forms this weird bubble of light and gives Kaladin rest, and Kaladin asks for a story, and so in normal Wit fashion he acts weird and says gives a weird story that doesn't seem to have much meaning at first until you read more into it. And so I'll start right here, pretty much at the end of the story, and it says Kaladin folded his arms and sat, Wit playing games again. Couldn't he ever be clear? Couldn't he ever say what he meant? Any meaning, Wit said softly, is for you to assign, Kaladin. I merely tell the stories. Have you finished your stew? Kaladin realized he had. He'd eaten the entire bowl while listening. I can't keep this bubble up much longer, I'm afraid, Wit said. He'll notice if I do, and then he'll destroy me. I have violated our agreement, which exposes me to his direct action. I'd rather not be killed, as I have 7 more people I wanted to insult today. Kaladin nodded, standing up again. He realized that somehow the story fired him up. He felt stronger, less for the words and more for how annoyed he'd grown at Wit. A little light, a little warmth, a little fire, and he felt ready to walk out in the winds again. Yet he knew the darkness would return. It always did. Can you tell me the real ending? Kaladin asked, his voice small. before I go back out. Wit stood and stepped over, then put his hand on Kaladin's back and leaned in. That night, he said. The little dog snuggled into a warm bed beside the fire, hugged by the farmer's children, his belly full, and as he did, the dog thought to himself, I doubt any dragon ever had it so good anyway. He smiled and met Kaladin's eyes. It won't be like that for me, Kaladin said. You told me it would get worse. It will, Wit said, but then it will get better. Then it will get worse again, then better. This is life, and I will not lie by saying every day will be the sunshine, but there will be sunshine again, and that is a very different thing to say. That is truth. I promise you, Kaladin. You will be warm again. Kaladin nodded in thanks, then turned to the hateful winds. He felt a push against his back as Wit sent him forward. Then the light vanished along with all it contained.
So wow, so that was Hoyd was pulling him into some like bubble. I forgot that. So it definitely wasn't like showing up in his dream necessarily, but man, I just love that so much. Things there will not always be sunshine, but there will be sunshine again. You will be warm again. That's what, people need to hear. That's one of those things whenever you are depressed, when you're in depression, like it's one of the hardest things to really remember and believe that this, whatever cloud of depression you're under, that it just sometimes will feel like that's how it's always going to be. It's never going to live.
Never going to stop. It's never going to end. It's always going to be like this.
It will. It can,
Like what it says, life is ups and downs. There is darkness and there is sunshine, Yeah. And when you're in the darkness, it's always good to remember there is going to be sunshine again. Don't give up. Obviously Kaladin's at that point where he feels just utter darkness, and Wit is there to remind him, like always, there is sunshine again, and you will feel that warmth of the sunshine again. Just hold fast in this time being. Good stuff.
Good stuff.
There's more. Read if you haven't read it. Read Rhythm of War, but also just read that story. That whole dragon and the dog story is a really good one. It's fun.
Yeah.
That whole chapter of Wit is really fun. That's kind of like your first really interaction with him and his spren too.
Yeah.
And they're hilarious.
Their dynamic is funny because Hoyd's always making jokes and insulting people, and then his spren is
insulting him.
Yeah, the spren is basically insulting him or throwing him off his comedic timing, because it's like asking him like, wait, but that doesn't make sense. And he's like, shut up,
She's spoiling stories and everything like
it's
that.
great.
He's great.
Yeah.
They're both great together. So that's such a good, I don't know, that chapter definitely like teared me up a little bit. And just being someone who, I'm not gonna say I've dealt with depression, but has like definitely had some pretty down times in my past, it it hits you hard, you kind of hear it and are reminded of it,
Yeah.
And I think Brandon Sanderson does such a good job of writing in characters with real world issues like that,
sure.
It makes the book feel more real, even though we're in a sci-fi fantasy
the
realm.
Stakes, it's a form of, the stakes aren't just will Kaladin survive in Urithiru, or will Shallan and Adolin be able to convince the Honor Spren to help them. It's, will Shallan succumb to this other personality? Will Kaladin succumb to depression? There's this inner, very, very real, very intense inner conflict that in some ways you're more worried about the inner conflict than you are the external one. You are worried about the external one, but when you see Kaladin, just at the end of his rope at certain times, and that early on in the book, whenever Moash finds him in his hometown, and he's in the basement, and Moash is basically telling him to kill himself, and he's describing it in such a intimately detailed way of like how Kaladin feels in his depression, and how this you'll just cease existing, and that's what you really want, because Moash has decided nobody can kill him, only he can kill himself, and that's the only way to get rid of him. And but yeah, that's super chilling. That was a super chilling thing to read. Just how real that struggle was for Kaladin. I was just like, oh my word, he's really getting through to Kaladin in a bad way here. So that storyline was very crazy to read in the book.
And then just to go further, Kaladin, obviously throughout all the books, Kaladin's dealing with depression. dealing with failure. You know, he's made this goal of I must protect. You know, starting with Tien, I must protect these people that I love, and in his mind, he's failed at every single corner. Even though he's saved a lot of people, a lot of Bridgeforce still alive, and everything like that. You know, but he still struggles so much with it. And this book, it just, you know, obviously in this book, you know, Dalinar even relieves him of duty.
Yeah.
You know, he was the High Marshal, and Dalinar's like, son, you need to stop. You know, really after that fight with Moash, with that whole thing, Kaladin had another, you know, thing. Kaladin's been struggling with sleeping. It's a big plot line with Kaladin in this book. Actually, though, a lot of the book deals with Kaladin's inner turmoil. A lot of this book, Kaladin's storyline in this book is inner turmoil.
Yeah.
Like most books, but it seems like more heavily in this one. But you know, his just that inner struggle that he's dealing with throughout the book is interesting to read. And what I like so much about this book compared to like even the other ones, and especially with Kaladin's story, because Kaladin's probably one of my favorite characters in all of Cosmere, actually. I like Vasher too, but it's what I like a lot about how Brandon Sanderson wrote this is, and this is heavy spoilers for other parts that almost made me cry in the book that I'm gonna go and bring up now. Okay. I mean, you get to a point where Moash comes back in, he's in the tower, Kaladin's parents are in the infirmary with the other Radiants that are down. Lift and Teft are going in there to go wake the Radiants and get them out of the tower. And you have Moash in there hiding. And he comes in and it becomes this fight where actually Lift loses like both her legs or something like that. I mean, I'm sure she heals herself later on when the tower turns back on. I don't remember. But, you know, she lost her legs, so you're dealing with that. And Moash is just ready to kill all these Radiants.
Because they just figured out, did he have the dagger at that point?
Yes, he had the dagger at that point.
So yeah, that was
they're
Navani's storyline.
Navani's storyline, which we'll get into, but long story short, they end up finding a way to kill Spren.
Yeah.
Which normally you couldn't kill Spren. You can kill their Radiant, and they would, in a sense, die. But they weren't dead. They just became dead eyes. But they actually found a way to make Spren cease to exist by using a different... Navani's storyline is very scientific. That's a whole 3 podcasts in itself, her storyline in this book. I'm just going to... We'll hint at it, but we'll have to go over that, because there's a lot of science, and...
Yeah.
My gosh, this man is insane. But
I know. It's crazy.
I'm reading this, and I'm like, gosh, this is harder than what I'm learning in school right now.
Tower light, life light, void light.
But... So yeah, that's a thing, and so you have Teft now that's like, I'm going to protect these people. I need to, you know, save time for Kaladin and everything like that. I need to get these people out of here, and so he's fighting Moash. And as much as I love Teft, Moash is a little bit more overpowered than Teft is. And long story short, Moash first finds his Spren, kills Teft's Spren, and then proceeds to kill Teft. Which Teft has been there from the beginning. This one hit hard because Teft is a great character. He's always been that backbone for Kaladin.
And Teft was very so what's going on in the tower with the reason all the Radiants are asleep and all this stuff is because there's this tower that's somewhat alive. It was created by I think Honor. It was created by
someone,
Honor or something like that, in order to be the headquarters of the Knights Radiant, and it had powers to dampen. It had like the ability to dampen the powers of
Odium,
but they reversed it once they got in control of the tower. The Voidbringers reversed it so that they could, or the Fused reversed it so that they could dampen the powers of the Radiant. So any Radiant that was in the tower that was below a certain level of progression in their oaths was just knocked unconscious.
I think the only 2 that weren't were Kaladin, because he was strong enough in his oaths.
Kaladin was very close to the fourth ideal.
To the 4th ideal. And then Lift, who, that just has to do with the fact that she doesn't even use Stormlight, really. She uses Life Light.
She's from, cultivation gave her powers.
Which is a whole other thing.
So it doesn't, she's in some ways... She's a
Radiant, but in some ways she's different.
Yeah.
And so the effects didn't affect her like it did the other Radiants.
Well, I think she's actually really close to her 4th ideal too.
That's true. Yeah,
I think that's what it was. Part of it too, because her powers were dampened. They just weren't.
See, but I assumed she was also still awake because I
think that was part of it. But I think
part of it. But yeah, I mean, she was. I'm sure she is close to the 4th ideal. Anyway, so yeah, that was so all of them were unconscious. And actually, that brings me back to another point of like Kaladin gave up his family to protect Teft, because Teft was unconscious. You had the Fused coming in to come find unconscious Radiants. they found Teft in the infirmary. Lyran's Kaladin's father didn't want him to fight, and Kaladin said, "I'm not gonna just let them take Teft. I don't know what they're gonna do. They might kill him."
Was unconscious.
And so he basically that's how he ends up going on. That's how it turns into Die Hard Year Through, because he kills these or at least one of the fuse, lets the other one run, and then takes Teft and books it.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, this entire storyline, he's got this character, the Pursuer, that's following him and wants to kill him because Kaladin managed to kill him. So that's a whole other plot point in the story.
Yeah.
So that's another thing too. So then when you get to this point now where Moash kills Teft, first destroys him by killing his spren, which I'm sure is excruciating, and then killing Teft, which was just brutal and sad. But then you have Kaladin, who beat the Pursuer again. Not only beat him, but like absolutely just berated him.
Yeah.
In such a beautiful way. And so Kaladin's doing better. He's winning, and he's like, I got this. And the next thing you know, Moash walks out, or flies out, and then just dumps Teft's body on the floor next to Kaladin.
Yeah.
And
it is like the last. I think Kaladin at that, even when he was fighting the Pursuer, even though he was winning, he was pretty much
broken.
I feel like they started describing him, or I don't know if this was after Teft died or before, but they started to describe his eyes were like giving off a weird light.
After.
Okay.
So he was I think at this point he was still saying like, this is my last stand. Like, I don't play. Basically, I think when he went into that, he didn't necessarily plan on living. I mean, if he was able to get away, sure. But at this point, I don't think he really planned on like getting out of it, because he was doing a battle with the Pursuer in front of a whole bunch of other diffused, like, and his powers are still dampened. But then he has this, Teft. He beat the Pursuers, kind of finally winning and everything like that, and then you have Teft, his body just dumped in front of him.
Yeah.
With also Lyran, and Moash brings out Lyran as well, his father, and gives him to a Heavenly One or a Fused or something like that. And I mean, if I have never seen a character just break like Kaladin did in that scene. I mean, just completely shut down. And
he jumps off the top of the tower, not to save his dad.
Well, yeah. So you have that scene with the Teft. He's hugging Teft's body and everything like that. And Moash says, "Don't you dare touch him. Don't kill him. He's broken. We'll see what happens." Basically, either he's going to join Odium to get rid of the pain, like Moash did, or he's going to kill himself in a sense. And it gets to the point where I think the Pursuer finally is just like, "Screw this, I'm going to do it." And he walks up, and Kaladin just absolutely obliterates him. And like, I think Venli is from her perspective, it says that she sees that like this weird glowing, almost like void light shining in his eyes. Like, Kaladin is lost in this moment. And then you get to the scene where he's chasing the Fused up the tower. One of the Fused who has Kaladin's father, and chases him up to the tower, and the Fused does something, and he drops Kaladin's father over the edge, and Kaladin runs to the edge, and there's that couple sentences there where Kaladin just goes, "I remember this. I was here once before," remembering the cliff and Way of Kings, and then the last sentence of that chapter is, "This time he jumped."
Yep. Which
was, I mean, and if you understand the relevance of that from reading Way of Kings, this was Kaladin breaking. This Kaladin was fully like, "I am broken. I am done. I am jumping off this cliff."
Yeah, that was the moment where he said, "I can't do this anymore." He was in the first book. He walked up to the edge of this chasm. They called it the Honor Chasm because bridgemen that were slaves and just had horrible lives would go and jump into this chasm, and they called it an honor chasm, as if that was the most honorable thing they could do. And right at the moment he was about to do it, Syl came. She gave him the courage or whatever to try to save Bridge 4. So then you have this moment where he's trying to save everybody. Everything's falling apart. Teft's dead. He couldn't save, Teft. And now he can't even save his father. He doesn't have his powers. Basically, he only has like a few of his powers. He can't fly. So when he jumps off the tower, he's not thinking. He doesn't have a plan. He's given up.
Yeah, he's not thinking, "I'm going to be able to get my powers back and fly away." He's literally, this is the point where he broke. Kaladin broke here, and that's what I really like about the storytelling of this book was, he wrote a main character who's been a main character for the past four books now, who every book he's had struggles, but he's always come out on top before he hit that breaking point. Like, he kind of got on that precipice, then got there. This is the scene where Kaladin officially broke. I mean, like, and I know there was
no one there to pick him up.
And there's more. There's a little bit more. I mean, you get a couple pages later on, and something else happens, which we'll go into, which is the other part where I almost cried. But Kaladin in this moment broke. He was, "I'm done. I'm jumping off this cliff, you know? And if what happened next didn't happen, we would be one Kaladin short.
Yeah. Yeah, that would not be. I don't know if I could keep reading after that.
I know.
But so this is a spoiler podcast, so we'll just say
It's all spoilers.
We
so
won't
just get
leave
ready
you
for it.
in the most dark part of the. So it goes from which is an awesome thing to go from like the lowest to then Dalinar is alerted by the storm. There's a storm approaching.
Well, there's a storm happening during this. There's a storm happening in Urithu.
High storm.
The high storm, and this is one of those high storms that's actually enveloping the entirety of the tower.
Okay.
Remember, it actually says it actually went up high enough to where like it was hitting the tower. Because normally they don't get up that high, but this one was, and so then you have Dalinar flying.
And so he's the Stormfather tells him basically, I can see that Kaladin has made his last trip into the storm, basically, and Dalinar's like, nah, nope, not that easily.
Oh yeah, he's just like, show me, you know.
So Dalinar figures out some kind of understands a little bit more about some of his abilities in this moment. He's a bondsmith. He can connect. He deals with connections, and he is able to connect Kaladin to a vision the same way the Stormfather connected him to a vision in the earlier books
with honor.
And so while Kaladin's falling, he's able to be slowed down, and
he's in like a weird like in between realm.
Whenever the whenever the spheres get infused, there's this time that it's like in between realms, and so time passes slowly there. So Dalinar is able to give him this vision of his little brother, and
which, mind you, was such a great. That chapter ended great too, where literally, Dalinar is like talking to the Stormfather, and he's just like, and the Stormfather's like, wait, what's happening? And Dalinar's like, I'm uniting him. And the Stormfather just goes, with what? And that's the end of the chapter. And then you get to Kaladin, who now is in this weird in-between realm. And then you find out that, oh, this is, Tien's here.
His little brother. The whole reason, kind of the thing that kind of set him off on this whole path, and the thing he keeps coming back to that he's so depressed about, is that he couldn't save Tien. Like, he was like the first person. He promised his parents he'd bring Tien home. He swore by the Almighty's 10th name and all this stuff that he'd bring Tien home, and he couldn't. And so he gets this vision, where he basically gets closure. He gets to see Tien kind of in that actual moment where Tien died, only when instead of Kaladin holding Tien's body, it's like Kaladin is a child and Tien is fully grown, and Tien's holding him and telling him it's going to be all right.
And it's such a good...
Everything he needs to hear, basically.
It's such a little good chapter, too, because it starts with him in the vision of when Tien dies. That scenario. And you come to find out that Tien... Because throughout the whole entire 3 books, you kind of are assuming that the army sent Tien, who was just supposed to be like a courier or something like that, out with this other ones as basically cannon fodder to get tacked first to help with whatever. And that's how he died. So you're assuming, Amarin's army just sent him out to get killed, and that's how he died. But then you come to find out that Tien actually wasn't initially sent out.
Yeah.
Another the courier was, and he said, I'll go with him. And then Kaladin says, why would you go? And he says, because they have, they basically, I don't remember exactly what he says, but he said they basically needed someone.
Yeah, Kaladin's like, there was no like hope. Why would you go out there? And Tien's like, they needed someone to make them feel brave. Like he went out there to basically do what he always did for Kaladin, which was, Kaladin would have his down times and his depressed times. When Tien and him were together, Tien would always somehow lift him up. He would always encourage him. He'd always make him feel better. Even though he's his little brother, he would say something positive spin on something that would just make Kaladin smile and just lift the shadows.
Here it is. I found it real quick. It says, Kaladin speaking here. He says, Tien, why did you do it? You should have stayed safe. And Tien turned to him, then smiled. They would have been alone. They needed someone to help them feel brave. They were slaughtered, Kaladin said. So were you. So it was good someone was there to help them not feel so alone as it happened. You were terrified. I saw your eyes. Of course I was. Tien looked at him as the charge began, and the enemy advanced up the hillside. Who wouldn't be afraid? Doesn't change that I needed to be there for them.
That just reminded me I read somewhere a while ago, Brandon Sanderson has said that Tien was like forming a bond with a Spren.
Oh, what?
What would they need to be? Isn't that Town? What is Town? The Herald Town? Isn't he? Is they the Dustbringers or are they the?
I don't remember, to be honest with you.
No, because there's an oath, a Knights Radiant oath that is, I will be there for those who need me. I wonder if that's what he would have been if he had fully sworn the oaths. That just totally made me think of that, because whenever he said that, it just sounded like a Knights Radiant thing. They needed someone to be there for them.
Gosh, I'm reading a little bit further on. This is awesome. This is wrong, Kaladin said. I'm supposed to hold you, protect you. And you did, as I helped you. He pulled Kaladin tight. Why do we fight, Cal? Why do we keep going? I don't know, Kaladin whispered. I've forgotten. It's so we can be with each other. They all died, Tien. Everyone dies. So they do, don't they? That means it doesn't matter, Kaladin said. None of it matters. See, that's the wrong way of looking at it. Tien held him tighter. Since we all go to the same place in the end, the moments we spend with each other are the only things that do matter. The times we helped each other. Kaladin trembled. Look at it, Cal, Tien said softly. See the colors? If you think letting Tef die is a failure, but all the times you supported him are meaningless, then no wonder it always hurts. Instead, if you think of how lucky you both were to be able to help each other when you were together, well, it looks a lot nicer, doesn't it?
That's good stuff.
And obviously this is all leading up to eventually Cal. Next couple paragraphs leading to him saying his fourth ideal, which...
Go ahead and read it.
He's talking with Syl.
He says, I accept that there are those that I cannot save.
Yeah. He says, besides, he whispered, I know the words. Say them, Tien whispered. I have always known these words. Say it, lad. Do it. I accept it, Stormfather. I accept that there will be those I cannot protect.
Yeah, so what's happening in this scene, whenever Dalinar connects him to Tien, he's like a spiritual realm. He's connecting him to the spiritual realm. So he really is in some form connecting with Tien, and Tef's voice is there too, telling him to say the fourth oath. So that was kind of an uplifting thing too, to hear Teft cheering him on, Tien's cheering him on. So and he says that. So as he's falling it goes from him at his lowest moment to just like skyrocketing to his highest moment in a way.
Well, that's the thing is, I don't even know if I would consider that his highest moment.
No,
I mean, he said his fourth ideal, but I mean, you gotta accept. He isn't like he's saying his fourth ideal, but his fourth ideal is like basically what's happening now is he's not jumping to his highest moment, but he's accepting that he has low moments. You know, he's accepting that he cannot save everybody. Yeah. But he's going to accept that that's okay. And so even after the chapter, like later on, he even talks about like I'm not. You know, someone says like, Kaladin, you're back. The High Marshal's back. He's like, I'm not back. I cannot keep doing, what I've done. I can just, I accept now that there are things that are going to happen.
So it's almost like maybe instead of being his highest moment, he in some ways he got closer, or he removed the cap. Mm-hmm. Because like he was always going to be capped on how, encouraged or happy or content or anything he could be, because he always had this baggage of, I wasn't enough. I didn't do good enough. I couldn't save everybody. But now that he can accept that, he's going to strive to live up to the oath, to accept that kind of gives him a higher cap. Because if you can accept that you're not always going to be able to save everybody. There's some people you can't save. Looking at you, Moash. Then you can get up to a more contented place, a better place. You can not let things just continually trip over the same things and get dragged down. So definitely a huge moment for him. But I do want to say, Stone Ward. I think Tien would have been a Stone Ward.
Oh, that's upsetting that he died.
The Stone, it's like Elhokar.
Elhokar.
The Stone Ward's oaths are, I will be there when I'm needed. Stone Ward oaths focus on team dynamics, on learning to work with others, and on being there for those who need them. They put the interest of others before their own, and will not bend their ideals for the sake of convenience. That is Tien. To a T. To a Tien. What?
Isn't Venli becoming a Stone Ward?
No, she's a will shaper, which is I will seek freedom, I think.
Oh.
Yeah.
Who is... have you seen a Stone Ward yet?
We haven't seen like a main character Stone Ward. Like Talon obviously is a Stone Ward. Which, you know what's cool about that? Isn't that in this book too?
What?
or is that in Oathbringer? Whenever Talon is talking to, was it one of the other heralds, Ash, and she's like expecting him to hate her, and he's like, he's so happy that they abandoned him because he's like, you gave them 4,000 years, like you gave them so much time. He was so happy, and she's like, no, you have to hate me, you have to be mad at me.
It was Oathbringer, yeah.
Okay, that's such a that fits with the Stone War. It's like he put the interest of others before his own. That's why he was able to just bear that. So, what did you think about Shallan and Adolin's plot line?
So I was actually talking about this with someone in Crossroads who also read it, and I agree with them. I like their plot line. The only thing that kind of upset me is I feel like there wasn't enough time spent on it.
Yeah.
There was like a whole like 2 acts where they weren't even mentioned.
Yeah, that's been a common thing I've heard is people.
And I didn't really
felt like it rushed a little bit, or maybe not rushed, but you just didn't get to spend enough time with them to appreciate the big stuff.
And I didn't really think about it until this guy brought it, because I was so focused on all the Kaladin stuff and everything else going on, like the epilogue and all that. But when he brought up, I was like, you're right. Like there wasn't, and that was a cool little story arc. You know, like I liked that. I mean, especially the whole thing with his sword, Maya.
Yeah.
The we chose scene.
Yeah.
Is insane. And it's crazy. It's cool to really, because you kind of have this whole overarching theme of the Radiants in the past failed. They killed their spread, which is why there hasn't been Radiance since, because no one trusted the humans anymore. Yeah. And that these Radiants are bad. And then you have this one scene where this spread, who was there for the Recreants, who was just like, it wasn't them. We also chose. We both are the Spren and the humans. We made this decision. Yeah. To do this. We didn't know that we were gonna die like this, and that we were gonna become Deadeyes, but we did choose. You know, obviously she didn't say that many words because because
she's barely like able to communicate.
The fact that she was able to do that is a miracle.
It was a huge break. It was a huge moment where, because they in Spren that not die like Teft's Spren die, because that was a different kind of death. That was like a more like a shattering a Spren kind of thing. But normally, if a Spren dies the way the Recreants happened, they turn into what's called a Deadeye in the cognitive realm, in the realm where they are more corporeal and like human-sized. And so they're just like, and they just follow around their the shard bearer, you know, whoever has them. But so Adolin has this unique relationship though with his sword, where he respects it, he cares about it, you know, he feels like he knows it, and then he finds out, you know, there is a dead Spren, that this sword is on this side of the things, and in him treating her with care and concern and respect and reverence and all these things, somehow it seems like it's like kind of repairing her a little bit. I don't know how far that'll go.
I would love to see him somehow heal her and they bond together.
I would love that too. I thought whenever I call in Oathbringer, I thought that's where they were going to go with it. Whenever
they might. But that being said, I also like Adolin as a character because he's not a Radiant, but he still is like in the front lines doing all that he can with what he's got, and that's what makes Adolin such a cool character. Yeah. So I don't know. I would like him to have that Spren. I like him to have that bond, but it's almost kind of cool having him not have a bond with a Spren, and he won't bond to Spren because he's using Maya. Right. You know.
Yeah, that's you know, he has a bond. I mean, he does have a bond with her, even if it's not the kind of bond that gives you radiant powers. They obviously have a bond. You know, so who knows exactly how that'll go. He does seem like a very edge dancer type of character. I will remember those who've been forgotten. You know, the ultimate remembering of those who've been forgotten, you know, is that he cares about his shard blade. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's true. I didn't even think about that. I also really liked Shallan has been getting annoying to me. Just of all of her weird personalities and what they do. She's a good character, she's written well, but and I think that's the point, she's kind of meant to annoy you a little bit. Yeah. But I liked the ending of her story arc in this book.
Yeah, she had a big moment.
She had a very big moment.
She said goodbye to one of her personalities. Mm-hmm. That was a big, part of her for a long time. And so I don't know how far that'll go either, as far as, if Radiant will sometime go away or whatever. But
yeah, I liked that.
She had a big moment to realize too, like she has Deadeye. She has 2 shard blades.
That was crazy. I didn't realize that. As I was reading, obviously I realized it, but
right.
that was like a really crazy, whoa, holy cow.
Well, that was a really crazy turn in the trial because then it kind of hurt them really bad.
Yeah.
When somehow they knew that was her Deadeye, because that was when Adolin's thing was no sprint. There's been no new Deadeyes created since the Recreants, and they were like, "Oh, really? There hasn't been.
There's been this one.
What about this one? Oh, oops." So that was, I don't know. I thought it was interesting. It was definitely interesting seeing the Herald be more involved in that storyline too.
You know what happened as well? Yeah, he was just crazy. You know what happened too? That was weird. That I don't think ever actually bore anything, as far as I know yet. All the Deadeyes appearing outside of Lasting Integrity. Remember how I said they just had a whole bunch just congregating outside of Lasting, because they usually take them in to Lasting Integrity and keep them safe, stuff like that. But they started to have a big congregation of them coming.
Is that during the trial?
It was brought up during the trial.
They were basically.
Or no, I think it was brought up before the trial that when Adolin went to go stand on the wall and look out, he saw all of the Deadeyes congregating or something like that.
Okay.
And there's they just mentioned there's a bunch of Deadeyes congregating, but they don't know why, because it's never happened. There've never been that many in one area before.
Huh.
And then,
I don't know.
Yeah, that was weird. Lasting Integrity was a really cool place.
Yeah. How the physics were weird on or whatever when you're inside it. I don't remember exactly. I just remember there was something with that.
It's like a rectangle, and then each side is its own.
But you could step. You could just step up, and then all of a sudden you'd be walking in a different.
So when you get to it's say you came to the corner of where the wall would meet. If you stepped onto that wall, you would end up walking on that wall now.
Which is kind of a cool thing because they're honor spren and Windrunners can do the whole changing their orientation of gravity and stuff.
So that was cool. The whole the description of it's
on the back.
The description of it confused me at first.
Oh yeah, how tall it is or whatever.
Just the description of it. I was as I was reading, I was like, what? And then I looked it up and I saw the picture and I read whatever on the wiki, and I was like, oh, okay, this is actually really cool. It makes more sense.
What do you think? What do you think about? I was getting a little freaked out. Not freaked out, but it was really messing me up whenever Shallan was saying goodbye to what's his name? Her spren.
Oh yeah, Pattern.
Yeah, she was like, "I don't need you anymore." I was like, "Oh no, you're gonna kill Pattern."
Yeah, no, gosh.
I was like, "You're gonna kill your spren," and so glad that got sorted out. And yes, it did a lot. There was a lot of stuff in there that was very big, crazy stuff that kind of got resolved really quickly because they didn't spend as much time with those characters. But I'm very glad Pattern and her figured things out, because I was just like, "You gotta be kidding me! Don't do this to Pattern." But that was a crazy thing though. That whole who's betraying her. And
can we also talk real quick about Pattern talking to Wit?
Like spying for Wit.
Well, not even necessarily spying for Wit, but talking to Wit. He mentioned to Shallan that I wasn't necessarily spying on you. I was talking to Wit. He wasn't. She thought he was using the cube to talk to.
Oh, so Wit must have.
But
is that what you're saying?
Well, Wit must have a cube. But just the fact that Wit and Pattern have a relationship enough to talk to each other about Shallan is just interesting. Wit is just. Well,
Wit and Shallan have a long relationship, right?
To an extent.
Well, I think when she was younger, Wit was around.
Yeah, he knew her brother too. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so I feel like Wit is kind of. I know Wit likes Khaled and everything, but he definitely seems to have a more. If there was a character that he, as far as a friendship wise, I think he'd probably be closest to Shallan. And he went out of his way, especially in Oathbringer. I mean. He really, really tried to help her out in Oathbringer big time. And then he was still concerned about her and talking to Pattern about Pattern's concerns about her in this book. So
did you also notice what the box was?
Sion?
You know what that's from?
From Elantris, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah, I recognize that whenever, because I haven't finished Elantris yet. It's like
Really? You still haven't finished Elantris?
I've been reading Elantris since I started Way of Kings, I think.
The ending is really good of Elantris.
Yeah, I'm gonna get there. I just get bogged down, get caught up in other books, but
yeah, that was good. Good, yeah. That storyline, like, it was a good storyline though. I enjoyed it. I liked all that happened there.
there's probably some stuff we're leaving out. We'll probably do more, but what about we can't go away from. Well, I'll cut two things. We got to talk about a little bit about Dalinar and Ishar.
Mm-hmm.
How crazy was that scene?
Almost losing the Stormfather.
We're almost losing the Stormfather. Ishar is like making he's bonding Radiance to so Ishar has his honor blade, which means he has the powers of a bondsmith.
But he's not bound by.
But he's not
oaths.
Yeah, he doesn't have any oaths, so he can do whatever he wants as long as he's holding that.
Which
that
it seems like they're kind of learning that Dalinar is able to do the same thing though because Honor is dead. He has these oaths, but he's also not necessarily bound because he's no longer bound by Honor. Honor is what bound even though they had their honor blades and they weren't because he was a bondsmith, but he didn't necessarily.
Yeah.
He was still bound to certain oaths or certain rules because of Honor, but Honor's dead. So now they're finding that like the rules are changing.
Yeah. Well, he just has to be careful because the storm. Like sometimes he'll do things in the storm. It kind of like stretches the Stormfather. I don't know. Hopefully he doesn't overdo it and like really mess up the Stormfather or something. But yeah, that was pretty crazy. Whenever they're fighting and then Death just goes comatose because he's like, wait, that means you were in Shinovar. Because you got your blade back. So what does that mean about my dad who was guarding your blade?
That whole him like chaining them to the ground too, with like
their Stormlight drained into the ground.
That was cool.
That was really cool.
There was also oddly enough some good, interesting character development for the Stormfather in this book.
Yeah.
Of learning from Dalinar to like. Because Dalinar, a big common thing in this book is Dalinar pushing Stormfather to do something, to not just sit back and
to not just be a storm, just say I'm a storm. I have to do what a storm does.
But
storm got a storm.
To which you even get that little last section, that last flashback, which was very cool to read with Eshonai.
Oh yeah.
Where Stormfather is like, I actually have shown mercy once, or something like that, and he's like, what? And you go to the flashback and it's Eshonai when she's dying. She was bonding that Spren. Yeah. I think she had said the first ideal or not. She might have. I thought she became a Radiant at that point.
I think she did become a Radiant, and that's why she was able to do what she did, because she was highly invested.
Yeah.
She was highly invested when she died, so she probably died right after being invested by saying that first oath.
And then Stormfather was just like, well, I can,
show you what
basically
you
I'll show you. You wanted a journey. I'll show you. And she was able to see the entirety of Roshar,
yeah,
which was her dream, and so that was a cool chapter. I didn't necessarily care for a lot of the flashbacks in this one because I just didn't care. Bentley is she's an interesting character, but I'm not as invested in her.
Yeah.
Although, real quick, this is sort of off topic, but Wit totally makes a mention that there's a dragon on Roshar.
Yeah.
Who? Where? What?
Didn't it? Cultivation.
Is Cultivation a dragon?
Her true form is a dragon.
Is it? Are you sure?
Yeah. Yeah, it says it somewhere in that book.
The only mention I ever remember of dragon was Wit saying there is one on Roshar, but she likes to hide her true form or something like that.
Cultivation. She hides her true form. Yeah.
I don't believe you. No. So yeah, the whole Dalinar and Ishar thing was really cool.
What about Odium? Odium had some character progression in this book.
Oh, yes, that's putting it lightly. Good old.
That was the most amazing. I just gotta say that for first of all, I had no idea. Well, I had no idea it was coming, but it's just an amazing cap for Taravangian's character arc. He was on his dumbest day. He was like an idiot that day. He had been trying to get Odium to come talk to him, so he had those Spren that were corrupted Spren. And he couldn't even remember why he had them. He was like, why do I have these? And then Zeth shows up, and he's trying to tell Zeth, wait. Crazy. And then as he's dying, like, because Zeth stabs him, as he's dying, he's just like, ugh, screw it. He grabs
Nightblood.
Grabs Nightblood and just jams it into Taravangian.
Which in itself
into Odium.
Which is in itself is crazy, the fact that Nightblood can kill a shard. Or can kill a shard bearer. That's insane. Also, 100% did not see that coming at all. Like, reading all these books, I never would have told you, like, yeah, I mean, never would there have been a theory in my mind of, like, yeah, Taravangian might become Odium. Never would have thought it. Just never. Right. Because this is not just something for the Stormlight Archive. This is, like, Cosmere level changes to the story.
I mean, when you think about it, the way it leaves things, you get to a point where it's like, Odium he's very close to being broken. He's lost so much because everything he tries doesn't work. He's getting more and more. The last time he talks to Dalinar, when they make that plan, they make the contract, every time he gets upset, he's like you can see, like, gold or, like, red, like, power, like, burning through his skin because he's so almost just destroyed by the power and by how much he's lost and everything. He's so wounded as a shard that he's super weak. He makes a plan. He's very desperate to make an agreement. And you come out thinking, wow, that things are going really well for our heroes. And then now you have a fresh vessel who intimately knows the characters, and he's not just one thing about Taravangian is he's not just he's got both passion and intelligence. That's what cultivation did. She made him either all passion
or all intelligence.
So he has both of those. So he has a whole different. I mean, he's going to have a different perspective than Reyes did.
But it's so crazy because it seems like cultivation obviously planned this out, right. But I don't know if it's going to end up the way she wanted it to.
I don't know how she wants it to end up either. Honestly.
I don't think she wants him to be. She wants, because she says she gave him all the intelligence and all the passion so that he can be smart enough to understand it, but also have passion enough to not let it control him.
Right.
But it seems like instead of that, he's almost going to control it and do bad things with it. But in the concept of, or in the guise of doing something right in his own mind.
Yeah.
You know, even to the point of where he, like, straight up just, like, wipes or possibly wipes Wit's memory.
Oh yeah, that whole scene.
Like that shows that he, like, doesn't, like, he's not a good guy if he's willing to just completely wipe someone's memory like that.
I still don't fully understand. What is his inner motivation? Because before he would do the worst things. He would allow the worst things to happen as long as he believed he was saving the most amount of people he could. So is that what he's gonna? Is this gonna be like a Cosmere level thing where he's gonna be like?
I think so.
Like a Thanos kind of motivation.
So. That's what it seems like. It seems like he's gonna bring, because he's been opened up to the Cosmere because he's starting to gain understanding of the different, slowly, but gain understanding of the different worlds in the Cosmere and the different things, the different struggles, the different things going on there. And so he is somehow gonna. I have a feeling he's gonna somehow just think, like, I can do better.
Yeah,
and I can make this better.
Like. Yeah,
kind of like a Thanos type of thing, probably. You know?
Yeah, because it felt a little weird. It's like 1 minute he's trying to stop Odium, like keep Odium from getting as much as possible. You know, and sure, he was willing to give up a lot in order to do that. But now that he's Odium, you'd think he'd just be like, okay, I'm good with losing to Dalinar because I don't want to kill a bunch of people and, like, mass murder. I don't have to now because I'm a god. But instead, he definitely is trying to. He's like, oh, I found a loophole here. They don't realize that they've left me some room here to wiggle, and so he's totally going to try to beat Dalinar's champion.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. It's scary. It's scaring me.
It is very scary.
Because I just know that a lot of not good things are going to happen in this next book.
I know.
There's just no, because it's like the halfway point.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to
Empire
have,
Strikes
there's
Back.
supposed to be a time skip, right?
Empire Strikes
Back. Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, the time skip's not going to.
Oh my gosh, Dalinar's going to lose a hand. Oh gosh.
Yeah, I don't.
Kaladin's going to be frozen in some sort of carbonite.
I think I assumed because of the time skip in Mistborn that there was going to be a huge time skip in this one, but there's not. There's going to be like a 10-year time skip or something like that.
I mean, there's a huge time skip in Mistborn.
Right, like several hundred years, but they're not doing that in Stormlight. So Stormlight will pick up. We'll still have a lot like the characters won't have all died off, because of old age or whatever. By the time
that's good at least.
But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's it for this one.
Rhythm of War.
I think Rhythm of War. We'll talk more about it, and we'll delve more into it. I mean, we haven't even touched Navani, her storyline.
Oh, yeah,
yet, so
she had big stuff.
We'll jump into that.
And,
she was definitely the main focus, I think, of her and Kaladin were kind of the main focus of this book.
Right. As far as, like, lore, digging into...
This is a Cosmere-heavy book.
Yeah, for sure.
And magic system heavy and science heavy. And like I said, there are things I was reading this, and I was like, gosh, I'm not even learning this. What I'm learning in school isn't even this difficult.
Yeah. Well, we'll be back with more Cosmere stuff, but thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed. I hope it was fun to follow along, even if you haven't read it and you're just not concerned with the spoilers. And if you have read it, I hope you enjoyed just hearing us kind of nerd out on just how amazing this last book was.
Wonderful.
January 1st, Stormlight 5, he will begin writing Stormlight 5. So
I'm excited for Wax and Wayne 4, at least. At least I got that to look forward to.
Next year, yeah. Next September. Mm-hmm. For some reason, it's just going to be like a whole year before it comes out.
Because he's writing other things. I don't know. Because he's Brandon Sanderson.
Yeah, maybe.
He's writing like 17 different books in one.
Could be like a publisher thing where they...
That's true.
They want to line up a Brandon Sanderson book near the end of the year.
He could start... he might... It might be just because he's going to have to start working on whatever movie or video game or show that he's going to be doing.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. Is that happening?
He's been working on a screenplay for Mistborn for a while.
Interesting.
He hasn't updated where it's at in a long time, though, so I don't know where it's at. But
Anyway.
Thanks
for joining us.
Thanks for joining Bridge of Two. We please reach out to us on social media or email. You got at Bridge of Two is Twitter. Instagram is Bridge __ 3. Is it 3?
2.
Bridge of 3.
2 spelled out. TWO.
Oh, right. That's what we're called. And then bridge2@gmail.com. Send us your theories, your thoughts on what we're doing. Ideas on what else we should be doing. Anything you want.
Pretty much anything.
So,
if you agree with me that Tom Branson is the wit of Downton Abbey, let me know.
And let us know. We'll talk about Downton Abbey.
Oh, jeez. And with that, this is been Bridge of Two.
A far, far away bridge.
I remembered this time.
Whoa, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Bridge of Two podcast. Should I not do that?
No, that was amazing. Continue, please.
I was laughing so hard.